Hey, Jason here from Simply Swider. So, if your Whirlpool washer is shaking violently during the spin cycle, don't worry. In this video, I'm going to show you exactly how to fix it. Good news is, most of these fixes are things you can handle yourself without calling someone like me out. Before we get started, if you run into any questions, jump into our Facebook group. Links in the description. We've got thousands of people helping each other fix their appliances, and I pop in there daily to help out. All right, folks, let's talk about one of the most frustrating washer problems out there. You're doing laundry, everything seems normal, and then bam, your washer starts violently shaking, making loud banging noises or literally walking across the floor during the spin cycle. Trust me, I've seen this 100 times in my repair career, and while it sounds scary, it's usually not as complicated as you think. So, the most common cause is actually the simplest one. Your washer's just not balanced properly. Don't ask me how I know this, but I'd say this accounts for about 60% of the shaking calls I get. Now, here's what most people don't realize. Every Whirlpool washer comes with these adjustable leveling legs underneath. They're designed to keep your machine steady on any surface, but sometimes they get knocked out of whack. Here's how you check it in two simple steps. First, give your washer a gentle push from the side. If it rocks back and forth, you found your problem. Second, for a more precise check, grab a bubble level and place it on top of your washer. If that bubble's not dead center, both front to back and side to side, we're going to need to make some adjustments. To fix this, you're going to turn the bolts on each leg until the washer sits level. But here's something that catches a lot of people. The back legs are self-leveling and sometimes one gets stuck and won't retract properly. You might need to lift the front of the washer slightly to let those back legs reset themselves. The other balance issue, the load inside the drum. I had this customer last month who was washing one heavy comforter with a couple light towels. The weight distribution was all wrong, causing the whole machine to go crazy during spin. Simple fix. Redistribute your clothes evenly or remove some items to balance the weight. You'll be amazed at the difference this makes. Another thing that'll cause violent shaking is worn out shock absorbers. These little guys are attached between the washer tub and the frame, and their job is absorbing all that energy during the spin cycle. Here's how you know if they're the problem. Your washer runs fine when it's empty, but starts going nuts with heavier loads or during certain cycles. When these shock absorbers fail, it's usually not just one. They tend to go bad together. This is definitely more involved than checking the balance, but it's still something you can handle. Safety first. Always unplug your washer completely and wait 5 minutes before starting this repair. You'll need a screwdriver set and possibly a socket wrench to remove the front panel and access the shock absorbers. Also, have someone help you if needed, as some panels can be heavy. Look for any obvious damage, broken parts, worn out components, maybe even oil leaking from them. If they're shot, you're looking at about 30 to 50 bucks for replacement parts, way cheaper than having someone like me come out and charge you a couple hundred for the same repair. Replace them as a set, reassemble everything, and run a test cycle to make sure your fix worked. The suspension kit is basically your washer's shock absorption system. It's got suspension rods and springs that keep everything stable during operation. I remember this one situation in our Facebook group where someone had a washer that would literally walk across the floor during spin cycle. They replaced the suspension springs, thought they had it fixed, but after one cycle, the shaking came back with a vengeance. Here's what they missed. After replacing suspension components, you've got to recalibrate the machine. Whirlpool specifically states that wash performance suffers if you don't recalibrate after changing suspension parts, control boards, or baskets. To check your suspension system, unplug the machine and open up that front panel. Look at those suspension rods and springs carefully. You're checking for damage, stretching, or loose connections. If something's wrong, replace the whole suspension kit or tighten whatever's come loose. Now, here's the critical part, the recalibration process. To enter diagnostic mode, turn the control knob in this exact sequence: left, right, 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 left, right. You'll know you're in diagnostic mode when the lights change. Next, turn the knob until only the rinse LED lights up, press start, and let the machine run its automatic calibration cycle for about 10 minutes. This made a huge difference for that Facebook group member I mentioned. Don't skip these steps, it's crucial for proper operation after suspension work. This one's going to make you feel silly if it's your problem, but trust me, it happens more than you'd think. I had this guy who bought a brand new Whirlpool washer and it vibrated so bad it would walk almost a foot across the floor during spin cycle. He even exchanged it for another new machine and had the same issue. Built himself a perfectly level platform, checked everything twice, still shaking like crazy. You know what the problem was? Shipping bolts. These transit bolts secure the washer drum during shipping, but they're supposed to come out once you install the machine. Most people either don't read the installation instructions carefully or just forget this step entirely. If you've got a newer washer that's shaking violently, check the back of your machine. Look for 3 or 4 large bolts, typically yellow or bright colored, that are threaded into the back panel. These shipping bolts are usually much more prominent than regular screws and often have plastic spaces or washers around them. Grab a wrench, remove those bolts, and run a test cycle. The difference will be night and day. Here's a pro tip: don't throw those bolts away. Store them somewhere safe because you'll need them if you ever move and have to transport the washer again. The snubber ring is this little buffer that sits between your washer base and the tub. Its job is cushioning vibrations during the spin cycle, but over time it wears out and starts causing problems. When this ring goes bad, you get direct contact between the base and tub, which turns your quiet washer into a rock concert. If your washer's making loud banging noises along with the shaking, the snubber ring is probably your culprit. Here's how to check it. Unplug your machine, remove the access panel, and locate the snubber ring. Look for cracks, excessive wear, or holes in the material. If it's damaged, you'll need to replace it. Now, I gotta tell you, disconnecting the snubber ring can be tricky because there's electrical tension involved. If you're not comfortable working with this kind of thing, this might be where you call someone like me. But if you're handy, replace that ring, reassemble everything, and plug your washer back in. The part itself is pretty inexpensive, usually under 20 bucks, but the labor can be challenging if you're not used to this type of repair. You can see the most affected models on the screen right now, and there are a few that really stand out for having shaking problems. The Whirlpool Duet series is probably the biggest offender. These are large capacity front loaders that pack a lot of power, but they're notorious for developing violent shaking during spin cycles. The stackable front load washers are another problem child, especially if the stacking kit wasn't installed properly or if the mounting hardware has loosened up over time. You'll see these units displayed here that tend to vibrate loudly if those stacking components aren't tight. The top load washers shown here also have their share of issues, particularly with suspension components wearing out faster than they should. What's interesting is that these models are generally well-built machines, but the shaking problems usually come down to the same issues we've been talking about: balance, suspension, and shock absorption components that need attention. That's how you tackle a Whirlpool washer that's shaking violently during spin cycle. Here's your troubleshooting order. First, check for shipping bolts and washer balance. These fix 70% of shaking problems. Second, examine your load distribution and try redistributing clothes. Third, if those don't work, move on to shock absorbers and suspension components. Start simple and work your way up to avoid unnecessary repairs. Most of the time, one of these fixes will solve your problem and save you a few $100 on a service call. If you guys know someone who's having appliance troubles, please send them the link to this video or a link to my channel where I have tons of other videos showing how to fix pretty common issues with appliances, sometimes for free or as little cost as possible. It sure beats having a repairman come out and spending several hundred for them to fix it when it could be something so simple. If this helped you get your Whirlpool washer working properly again, hit that like button and drop a comment below. Let me know which fix worked for you. Really helps other people with the same problem. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. We'll get this out to more folks who need to save some time and money. Thanks for watching, and I hope you guys have a great day.